Hello, all. My name is Tim Davidson, and today we're going to talk about how to 2.3x your revenue from LinkedIn ads by using account lists rather than industry targeting. Just a quick reference here, a little context as we go through the slides. My name's, like I mentioned, Tim Davidson, and I am a B2B content creator and founder of B2B Riz. It's an ABM and LinkedIn ads consulting firm for B2B SaaS, solopreneurs, just one-person shop. But over the last 5 years or so, especially being in the B2B space, I've managed 12 plus million a year ad budgets. And I was also, so I started my company about 6 months ago. And before that, I was the head of marketing for a performance marketing agency, one of the largest ones for SaaS companies. So I've seen a lot of data, a lot of accounts. I've literally audited thousands of ad accounts and seen a lot of companies and things that worked and didn't. And when I say millions on testing, I mean, I literally had millions of dollars to be able to spend on testing to innovate for our clients, primarily in LinkedIn ads. So I've wanted to try a lot of different things and see what works and what doesn't. And this 2.3x was one of those. So like I mentioned, revenue, 2.3x more revenue from LinkedIn ads with an account list rather than industry targeting. $966,000 versus $403,000 with everything virtually the same. There's a 4-month test, everything virtually the same. The account list saw way better results. Just to take it a little bit deeper. So as I mentioned, everything is kind of the same on what we did within the campaigns and everything there. The spend was a little bit different just because at the end I saw the account list working better. So I spent a little bit more there, as you should. But just as the leading indicators, industry targeting actually saw more form fills. And when I say form fills of this is a sales call to action. We're trying to get people, it's not like ebook downloads or gated content. This is a sales call to action for this test. And we actually saw 673 with industry targeting rather than 431, which, as you can imagine, has a different cost per lead. So almost 2x higher cost per lead with the account list. Now, if I was, just looking at those, I would have actually stopped the test and just went with industry targeting. But as you can see, the revenue was a different factor, way different factor than what we saw with the industry targeting. And then obviously the return on investment, because of that, was much higher as well. Now, why was that? Again, like I mentioned, the account list. But one thing to note there, it wasn't just the classic ABM account list everyone kind of uses. This was if you could think about it as like a TAM or total addressable market kind of account list. This specific account list was about 10,000 companies, literally, well, actually technically 9,765. And it was all based off of the best fit customers for us. We looked at our customer base and did a bunch of research and manually verified a TAM, total addressable market list, that we used for LinkedIn ads. And then the other part to that, because targeting is just one part of it, as you can saw with the results, even though industry targeting didn't do well, it was still ROI positive of 2.1 ROI positive, and that's because of the creative content and messaging. And so I don't want to leave that out because that was also very important in this test. And that's it. It's very, very simple. And terrible joke, but it's actually, we'll get technical on this. So let's start with the account list. Now, like I mentioned, we're using the account list, which is the industry targeting, and that's where we saw the big results. But here's why. I love LinkedIn so much. It's the best targeting ever for B2B. It's actually my whole business. It's all I do. It's where everything comes from. But it has its flaws, especially with the industry targeting. This graph, this data here is that 10,000 or so company list. And when I uploaded to LinkedIn, I was able to look at the companies and how they're categorized within LinkedIn of the actual industries. And so that list, for more context, that list was primarily B2B SaaS companies and 50 plus employees and up. And if you're going to target that with the industry targeting, you're going to use these kind of software and technology industry targeting options here. That list, only 65% of those were actually within that. The other 35%, as you can see on the right side, was a lot of different industries like financial services, advertising services, hospitality, retail, all these different other industries that if you targeted, it'd be a mess, an absolute mess. So you're missing out actually on a lot of opportunities if you're only using industry targeting, especially if you're going after B2B SaaS, but this can be rolled out in so many different industries, especially like retail or e-commerce. Like that's also a huge mess. So on one side, you're missing out on opportunities, but you're also wasting a lot of dollars with industry targeting because, like I mentioned, software development would be one of those industries that are going to be what you want to target if you're using the industry targeting. Now, within software development, you have all these great companies on the right here: SEMrush, Bentley Systems, Gong, Sendoso, GitHub. Great companies you'd want to talk to. Sales would love to talk to those companies. But you also have, on the left side, a lot of software development agencies, companies that sales would not be happy with if you're just going after B2B SaaS. So even within the industry targeting, you're missing on a lot of opportunities, but you're also just wasting a lot of dollars on companies you just couldn't even work with. And here are just more examples of that, those missed opportunities I mentioned. Financial services and advertising service. Again, great companies within there. Betterment, Chime, Ramp, Brex. Under financial services, great B2B SaaS companies we want to work with. Foundry, Technology Advice, Mountain, and Instapage under advertising services. But if you targeted those, it would be way more wasted dollars than you even saw with software development, because you get a lot of banks in the financial services, a lot of B2C companies. In advertising, you just be targeting a bunch of marketing agencies. So a lot of missed opportunities if you're relying on the industry targeting rather than using an account list, like I mentioned before. But again, it's not just an account list like the classic account list that every ABM vendor gives you, or every ABM company, every IBM team makes. It's not the just, oh, here's our list of sales, enterprise of the enterprise, Nike, Google, Microsoft. This is a larger account list because that way you can tap into timing, because you can't force people to buy. Timing matters here, right? So you need to have enough companies so you can tap into timing. Whatever that stat was 1 to 3% of people are in market at any time. If you just have 100 companies, it's going to take forever to see that, even if you have the greatest messaging in the world. You can't force people to buy. So having a larger account list, again, based on what are the best fit customers, so still companies your company would love to work with, but they are more honed in and going to give you that scale that just having the classic ABM list will not do. So how do we build that? So here's, I'm not gonna have time to go through every single step on here, but this QR code, if you want, you can scan that. That's a post I did on LinkedIn. It got some good feedback, and it's really a very long-winded way of the 9 simple steps on how to do this. But the 4 summarized steps here are to go into your CRM and export a list of customers. What you need is a company name, domain, revenue, and lifetime value. Now, if you don't have a lot of customers, you might want to use opportunities that were close to closing, but they just didn't, just give you more data. With that, you're going to use a data provider. There's so many out there. Just upload you can use any of them really. Upload the companies to that data provider. You're going to enrich it because you're going to enrich it with whatever data they can give you. Typically, at the very least, you want industry, country and region, revenue, IT spend, anything and everything you can get, because what you're going to do is export it and find commonalities of your best fit customers. So before you do that, you do need to enrich that data, because it's not going to come out with the revenue and lifetime value. So you need to, or not enrich it, you're going to want to append it back on using like VLOOKUPs on Excel or Google Sheets, something like that. I think you can use ChatGPT nowadays. But you're going to enrich that data back in. So you have now all your best fit customers, and maybe even the closed loss ops, and the industries, the employee sizes, IT spend, anything you can really append there. And now you're going to start just looking through that and seeing what those commonalities are. And typically that's going to be employee sizes, industries, countries, depending on your product. I've seen things like, email sends per year or something like that, SKUs or whatever that is. Find those commonalities and then go back to that data provider, and find more companies that are just like that. Using those filters, find those companies, make a huge list of there. You're going to want to play around with it. They're not perfect. You're going to play around it, exclude industries that you don't see that are a right fit, and then go through it with marketing and sales to make sure it's all good. Export it, and then you're going to have a big list, a total addressable market list of companies that your sales and marketing team would love to market to and obviously talk to. Now, depending on that company size, you might want to segment it out because ideally, if you think about enterprise versus SMB and mid-market, they're going to have different, sales cycles, and it might make sense to allocate budget different to each segment. So I would look at those based on like deal sizes and segment out maybe 2 to 3 segments just for budget allocation and just looking at reporting as well, especially with the sales cycles. And when you go into LinkedIn, what I would do is say you have 3 segments, I would upload all of them at once, and then upload them all 3 in different lists, just so you can have more. Just because sometimes you want to test something, you might want to have a larger list, and you're just going to see better results with that. Now you have those account lists, right? You have the account list, you upload them to LinkedIn, great. The next part is also going to be crucial here, creative. Because the thing is, targeting is a commodity. This is actually, like I said, this is my business. This is all I do, and I will tell everyone targeting is a commodity. Once you nail that down, creative messaging, your product, all those things really, really matter. And I want to take you through some things again that I've tested over the years, been able to test that might be a little bit out of the box that will help you drive that revenue, regardless of industry versus account list, but you should use the account list. So one is social proof. Social proof, I cannot harp on social proof enough. Social proof is everything. Social proof is the oldest marketing in the world. It's word of mouth. It's everything. People buy from people. People want to see people. They want to see the logos. Social proof is everything. And not to give kudos to Metadata, but they have a great ads on social proof here. As you can see, they have a great statement here. We increased pipeline by 60% in 3 months. So they have the time frame, they have a stat there, they have the company logo, and then they have the person there. That stuff sticks out in the feed. It's really, really good. Another one by marketer hire here, having the company logos around there, a nice headline, even giving a value prop down here. Great idea of social proof. Again, I cannot harp on social proof. It really is such a big game changer in your ads. It should be a part of every strategy. Some more examples, because you don't even need to make really crazy creative out of here. Things like this tutorial one, these are just LinkedIn comments, but these are also great ways of getting organic social proof and low lift here. Another one from Casper, Reddit. This is a Reddit social proof. This is great idea for a ad that really does work. It sticks out, and again, low lift. And then this one by Notion, I think is also great, just because it's a great testimonial. Has the person, not the person, but a little skit here, but also just this little image here is great because it even ties into the testimonial, which is really great, and just kind of gives that imagery that really pops out there. Another one that actually B2B is stealing from B2C, which is always a good idea, so no harp on that. Us versus them. B2C has been using this for a long time, but these ones work very, very well. Comparing, you could go really crazy and compare yourself to exact competitors. You compare yourself to the industry as a whole. Great way to showcase, your product, what you do, your value props versus, whether it's the incumbent or whether it's just the industry as a whole. It's a great way to show that kind of comparison of why you versus them, and that could be wide and that could be narrow as well. Another one from B2C that's great is the before and after. Very similar to the us versus them, kind of showcasing the two sides there. But this isn't calling out obviously competitors or the industry. This is your prospect's life or their job or their company before your product and after. Again, another way that sticks out on the feed. Really great way to showcase why someone should use your product. Usually 2 to 3 bullet points on each side. Really, really great way with an imagery that kind of shows, the good versus the bad. It's a great way to stick out in the feed, and it really does work. Another one is more of like a concept, I guess. Storytelling with relevant formats. I love seeing these nowadays, again, from the B2C world, but storytelling obviously is a huge part in marketing, and being able to do that in relevant formats, relevant ways, whether that's a text message like Sendoso, being able to tell your story in that way, in a very simple way that sticks out in the feed. Another text message, but like a pop-up that from Cognizant here, Apple Notes. These are all very low lift type of ad formats, but they really tell your story, and it's a great way to stick out in the feed. And then this one, obviously you can't do the industry targeting, but this is one-to-one ABM ads. I did not want to miss this in this kind of presentation here, because it's another way to stick out in the feed. So these are literally just targeting the exact account, calling them out. User Gems is a great one here. Hey Wix, they're calling them out. Now these type of ads, just as a note, you typically see about 8 to 12% click-through rate. If you've run LinkedIn ads, 1%, you're pumped. 2%, you're jumping out of your chair. 8 to 12% is crazy. And this is what those ads do. They stick out in the feed because you're calling them out, calling out their company. They stick out, and they get someone to stop scrolling and actually look at the ad. And that's what, at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? It's looking at the ad, getting your message across to the right person, at the right time, the right company. Don't sleep on them. And so that messaging, the creative that I just mentioned, the account list, all that turns into 2.3x revenue in 4 months with LinkedIn ads. One of my favorite tests ever, because it was a hypothesis I've always had, but this is exactly what you want to see, because the account list turns into more revenue when all else is the same. And it's crazy how many accounts I've seen that do not do this. And that's it. Thank you.